Hello and welcome to Let's Roll a Game, the tabletop gaming show from a casual collector's perspective. My name is Josh, and I will be talking about some new items that are coming out in the near future and that have already come out. First, I'm going to talk about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. They just released the new beginner starter box using more of the classes, using the Sorcerer, Barbarian, Bard, and Monk. And it's a brand new adventure, and what I like about these starter boxes is they give you the chance to get a taste for the game for a relatively cheap price. You have the chance to do a small adventure with pre made characters. You can even create characters if you want for this adventure. And it helps with newer players get a smaller, digestible chunk of information so that they can start playing. And for GMs, it gives them a lot of information to help running a game and stuff that they can run into, ideas for making maps. I've liked how they do this. And in fact, the first edition's beginner box has a place in my heart because it's really what got me into playing tabletop games. And you see, I was talking to someone about why I like role playing games because I just grabbed the beginner box and was asked why I like playing role playing games. And can't remember exactly what he said. Something to the effect that it's like you're playing an actor, you're playing a different character, and so you're in this different world. And a person who heard the conversation spoke up and said, "Hey, have you heard of this game store?" I hadn't. I asked the location. And after that, after getting the beginner box, I ended up going to the store and I was blown away. Didn't know that this world existed. I knew there were some types of miniature games. I had played Hero Clicks in the Star Wars miniature game in the early 2000s. They didn't really click because my friend and I just ended up with him chasing me around the board and it just wasn't fun. But then I go to this store and I was so unaware of this. There were so many games. Euro board games, different types of war games on boards that have different types of tokens than I'd ever seen. And then in the back room, there was people playing a miniature game. I went back there and was just looking around and spoke to the guy who was a press ganger at the time and was talking to him about how I like role playing games. And he was saying, well, he mentioned the fact that there was this Iron Kingdom role playing game that was going to be released soon. And actually, the people in the room were playing a game that role playing game was going to be based off of, using the same kind of mechanics. And he then proceeded to show me the demo, and I was hooked. I can't remember what the demo game entailed, but I remember picking up the Manoth starter box either that day or shortly thereafter, and I have enjoyed playing this game ever since. I had a break in the middle of Mark III. Family life, family life, and stuff got in the way. I was unable to really play games, and ended up doing a lot of collecting. And at that, and I had gotten the Dark Vengeance set for my girlfriend for her first Valentine's Day, and that got me with Warhammer. So I did a lot of Warhammer stuff at that time. But getting back to the beginner box, I really like the idea of this. I mean, yeah, it may be easy for some people to just pick up a game and play, and that's kind of how I did it with D&D. A group was playing, somebody made me a character, but I like this because it gives you this little adventure in a box, and you don't have to be part of a main campaign or anything. And so, speaking of Warmachine, Warmachine had their EU Lock and Load last weekend, which is a major tournament for the Warmachine, and it is interesting now that Steamforged Games owns it, seeing how they've changed the direction a little bit of how Mark IV is going, changed a little bit of the idea of how the boxes work already, and then they're going to work on the naming the boxes differently or packaging them differently based on the fact that people got confused between the core expansion and the auxiliary expansion. But I like what they've been doing. They've This game, while it was revitalized by Privateer Press, when it switched to Mark IV and just dumped all the other stuff. And I can understand some of the reasonings. I don't know everything that happened in the background, but I know that there were some major changes, and then they decided to sell this property that their company was built off of to Steamforge Games. And I'm glad they did because it's nice. It feels like it's in better hands now to me. And I like how the models look. I like the new Fayne of Nyrro faction. Now, it is kind of different seeing this. They did a preview of the faction and the new hunger mechanic, but then you look at the final hunt from the Frozen and Forgotten set that was released recently, and it's a completely different thing. So that's kind of interesting because I bought the faction and have started painting based off of what the package said and what I thought. I didn't really have any pictures or ideas of what this new faction would be, and the miniatures look awesome. I really love it. Vampire elves. I love that idea. It's just so cool to me. And it's very different than I expected, but I really like how it looks. I really like what they're doing with it. And eventually I'm probably going to pick that up. For now, I'm working on a Dusk Army, starting with the Final Hunt and the Ghosts of Ios set in the battle box, and going to build from there and probably get the auxiliary expansion because I really like the heavier hitting looking stuff. The soulless part of that faction doesn't intrigue me as much. But that will be a topic that I'll probably discuss more of that as I'm doing it. And then we have Warhammer. Warhammer 40K is having their every 3 year new edition come out. And I'm a little tired of all these new editions. It's just too much stuff happening so fast. It gets hard to keep up with everything, and it sometimes drives me nuts. This new edition is coming out, and so far I like the rules that I'm seeing. I'm kind of glad that they're going to focus more on the terrain and have the objective stuff on the terrain. And I like how they have the terrain footprints that you can then put terrain on. And it's going to be interesting to see how people do that with the shapes that they need to be in for the way that these layouts are. And it's interesting seeing how they're standardizing it for like tournament play and moving away from it being more of a beer and pretzels type of game the way that it's been. But I like what I've seen so far. I mean, 11th edition, I've enjoyed playing it. I've played a handful of the other editions off and on throughout the years, not very frequently. This last year, I've actually done more in the way of gaming than the prior few years combined. I played 5 or 6 games of Warmachine at about 50 points or so, 30 or 50 points. And then Warhammer, typically at about 1,000 points, multiple times since last June. And I've enjoyed it. This new edition is coming out, and there's going to be the new Armageddon box. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows about that by now. It looks, I like the contents. The Space Marine side, more intercessors, but they have cool new helmets. Yay. And the Vanguard veterans just they look fine, but it's gonna be a little hard for somebody who plays in gray plastic a lot. It's gonna be kind of hard to tell the difference between Vanguard veterans and the jump pack intercessors without some distinguishing mark. And I really think they should have done a different type of jump pack in the back to help differentiate them. And actually, it's the same thing with this sanguinary guard. I feel like instead of having all three of these units have the exact same backpacks, they should have really had each one have different ones. I think the wings on the sanguinary guard were awesome and definitely have a cooler feel than their jetpacks now. Their jetpack intercessors, I think, with what they have right now, would be cool. With Vanguard veterans, I think should have had it something different. A bigger way to differentiate between them and the jump pack intercessors. And as for me, I'm going to get the upgrade kit and just add a little more bling to it, even though I don't like painting the extra stuff. That's one of the things I like about how it works is about how these are kind of bland. I don't like painting a lot of filigree. I am not a good painter. I've been painting for the better part of 15 years or so, and I've gotten a little better, but I don't have the patience to really do these really wonderful jobs. And it's hard to keep motivated to paint, which is actually part of what this channel is going to be about, helping keep me motivated by showcasing things I'm painting, showcasing my hobby progress, as well as talking about these new releases. But back to the Warhammer, the Armageddon. I think the Orc side looks awesome. Space Marine side, probably give it a 7 out of 10 because, yes, I've been a Space Marine player. I should have a lot of intercessors. I just had the intercessors, the original intercessors from the Dark Imperium box, I think, that had them in it. And now that I started Blood Angels, since I knew that they were going to be the protagonists of this edition, I decided to start Blood Angels, and actually, I will talk about it more, but I've had a lot more fun with them than I ever did with my Dark Angels, which is kind of sad because I love the aesthetic of the Dark Angels. I love their lore. But so I'm looking forward to this box, and we'll be doing an unboxing video as well, which I'm going to try to get set up. And actually, the Ghost of Ios box I'm going to do as well because I want to start working on doing that because some of the some of the things I envision for this channel, talking about new releases, news, some of the rules that are coming out, some of the rules that come out, some of the articles that Warhammer community or Steamforged Games brings out for their various games, stuff that's happening with Pathfinder, just news and that kind of stuff. And then I want to talk about my hobby progress because I want to motivate myself to paint more because I like painting to an extent. It's just hard to keep myself motivated. It's hard to find the time to do it because life is really busy. And then going to talk about the games because I find that as I talk about the games, it's helping me learn more, helping me see the mistakes that I made. For example, with the Blood Angels, I mean, some of the things that I did, I've learned more about deployment. I've learned more about drops, deep striking, and about positioning. Stuff that I never really thought of before. Like staging my guys at one part of the ruins out of sight so that I could charge. Never thought of that when I was playing the Dark Angels. And plus, I'm using jump pack units, so they have much faster speeds to be able to do some of that kind of stuff. Like with the orcs, I learned okay, I need vehicles. Because with the orcs, I have a truck and a battle wagon and a Meganob squad in my 1,000 point list. And that was fun. I could get them I could get them up, and then if the vehicle blew up, I could pile out and still attack, and it just felt good. And so as I play more games, I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to go over them just to help me figure this stuff out. And just all these kinds of things. Maybe do a live stream someday. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that, but I'm going to try to do these shorter type videos, 15 to 20 minutes ish, maybe 10 minutes, depending on how much I want to talk. But this is something that I want to do. I want to be able to talk about this hobby. I love playing miniature games. I love painting. I love building. I love rolling dice. I mean, playing orcs. I mean, I have to love rolling dice. Well, Warhammer. I mean, cup of ice rolling all the time. Oh, look, I have 40 attacks. So much dice. And then do things like talk about the differences between Warmachine and Warhammer and Conquest. I like talking about this kind of stuff. So that's kind of, again, that's kind of where I'm going. And that is all for today. Thank you for listening and have a good day.